it should be able to provide the executive or the VIP the needed protection based on a proper threat assessment
Mm.
and the required facilitation to make sure that the executive or the VIP can focus on his actual job, which would be
Mm.
either managing a company or doing what is best done by politicians or actual expats doing the work for international business corporations.
Mm. Good day. Welcome to the Leader's Edge, and it's season 18, episode 1, the season opener. And what a guest we have today. If it were important for you to know that you're safe without doubt, without worrying about your own well-being or those of your family, if that could help you function better as a leader, would you like to know how? Our speaker tonight is Emmanuel Toto Harder, who will be talking to us about personal security for leaders. So let's all welcome Toto Harder so he can introduce himself. Toto?
Hello, everyone. I'm Emmanuel Joseph S. Harder, and my friends call me Toto. That's mainly because my family is Ilonggo. We come from La Paz, Iloilo. It's a clan. Anyway, I am an executive protection specialist. Some people, based on different regions, would call me a close protection specialist. Okay, that's the other term for it. Or in other places, they call them the bodyguard. But
Mm.
not just because in some areas, being a bodyguard is considered a thug work. Okay, meaning those especially in showbiz using they use muscle bound or big hunked men as bodyguards or minders, as they say.
Mm.
And this does not really show off a good image for our profession.
Mm.
Okay, because that's mainly because for artists or celebrities, that's mainly their goal
Mm.
to be, uh, big
Right.
and to be able to uh, what would be the best word to make sure no one, they won't be bothered or their principals won't be bothered.
Mm.
Okay, but in my case, I actually work as a consultant or a advisor
Mm.
to the principals, mostly high level executives or families
Mm.
or politicians, depending on what posts they hold on to,
Mm.
okay, or the expat community in the business community.
Wow. So how long have you been doing this kind of work?
I actually entered this this work, or rather this profession, when I trained with the PSG
Mm.
in 1991,
Wow.
and then after which I further trained with UK Professional Bodyguard Association, which is an SAS connected executive protection school in the
Mm.
UK. So I was able to, somehow professionalize, advance, and further research my profession so that I would be able to make it as professional as it could be. I was also the developer and the one who's actually who made the training regulations for NC3. That would be the National Certificate Training Program under TESDA
Oh.
for the professional uh, close protection operations trade, okay, or certificate professionals, NC3, National Certificate 3, which
Mhm.
should be honored in most countries who are with who work with TESDA
I
as a
see.
professional skill.
Wonderful. So, in other words, anybody aspiring to be licensed or certified could go there and acquire one.
Yes. Right now, we actually have two versions. The uh, the local version actually is monitored and regulated by the PNP SOSHA. That's the uh, that's basically the PNP unit that regulates the private security industry. So
Mhm.
that's the local uh, close protection industry or executive protection industry. But for
Mhm.
those who aspire to work in the international scene, that will have to be regulated through TESDA. Okay, because TESDA regulates all professions uh, that would go out to the world working for various com- countries and companies. They have to make the same grade as the agreed national certificate titles for their country's vocational technical tech voc regulations industry.
Okay. So let me just address very quickly for our viewers the obvious question, because I'm sure many of you are wondering, why is Toto seeming to be in the hospital? Well, I'll tell you what. He's there because he's mending or recovering from an illness, pneumonia. But I tell you what, out of all the guests we've ever had on this show, he's the only one who showed up even though he wasn't feeling well. And so that in itself is a testament to his professionalism and to the people who count on him to get advice, because wasn't going to let a virus get in the way. So, on behalf of our audience, we'd like to thank you for sparing some time for us tonight.
Thank you,
So,
thank you.
Toto, here's a question, because I'm sure it's probably something that you probably hear from people all the time. Um, Out of all the benefits of having a personal security detail, let's say if there were eight of them, what would be the top three, you think?
Well, the top three really good personal security or executive protection detail actually covers both protection and facilitation. Okay, so it should be able to provide the executive or the VIP the needed protection based on a proper threat assessment
Mm,
and the required facilitation to make sure that the executive or the VIP can focus on his actual job, which would be
mm,
either managing a company or doing what is best done by politicians or actual expats doing the work for international business corporations.
mm. In other words, maybe the biggest benefit is peace of mind, so that
Yes, peace of mind.
they can do what they need to do without having a division of their thoughts, like instead of worrying about their children, worrying about their own personal security. They can focus on policy making, making difficult decisions, in essence being a leader. um, Here's a question though: are there times when the protectee gets in the way of their own safety? I mean, I'm sure it must have tested your patience or somebody else's patience within your team when the protectee either wants to change the schedule or change the itinerary because they just have to be spontaneous. Have you ever dealt with things like that?
Yes, definitely. That's actually one of the challenges for the profession.
Mm,
Okay, so what usually happens is, as I mentioned earlier, it is a very blended, work in terms of facilitation, making sure that everything that must go right with the principal should go right,
mm,
proper time, proper place, uh,
mm,
safe, and uneventful if it needs to be uneventful,
mm,
and yet provide the best protection based on a proper threat assessment,
mm.
and of course, sometimes not being seen as a bodyguard itself.
You're right. Yeah. Which of course leads to the premise that sometimes the best bodyguards are those who don't look like bodyguards, so that say the family of the protectee or the friends of the protectee don't get intimidated, because as you pointed out, media or Hollywood can really just portray Dwayne the Rock Johnson, for example, as a bodyguard. And so if you have somebody that big hanging around you, people around you might not be able to relax and have fun the way they
Yes,
intended to. Hmm.
it
So,
actually provokes a sort of image that uh, may not be helpful to the principal itself,
mm,
because it actually scares maybe their clients or their their the other people they're meeting,
or their
or they don't want to call
constituents.
attention to themselves.
Yeah.
Mm.
um, which leads me to an interesting question. We know that, and you don't have to share specific details, of course, no, because of
Yeah.
what we call persec and opsec. Uh,
Yes.
but just a ballpark idea. Um, why is it that, for example, the sitting president of the United States would have what, in essence, is like a company-sized detail watching over him in shifts, but the past president of the United States just gets maybe uh, like at best maybe a diamond formation team hovering around him. Is there some way of determining how many should somebody have?
Yes, as I said, that's really based on the threat assessment.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah.
based on the threat assessment, it more or less would be giving the professional what he needs to, verify and understand the threat against the principal, and
Mm,
how he might organize a team to protect the principal, and how
agreed.
many it would be.
Mm. And yet, ironically, Donald Trump, who went on a campaign, um, managed to get hit by a sniper in the ear. Even if he had the security service, the police force, the FBI, all were there, still got hit. Hmm.
Yeah. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So, and they're nebulizing me. So I need to,
Yeah, I
wear this mask.
understand. Mm-mm.
What happens is, based on what I've seen or watched on the analyst, most Secret Service professionals or
Mm.
ex-service retired Secret Servicemen, when they analyze the event. So they were saying that three things basically, not there might not have been a proper threat assessment that was made,
Mm.
because majority of the threat when the threat assessment is made, majority of protection is mainly mitigating
Mm.
mitigation of possible events that could happen
and the sniper hit that was actually done to Donald Trump would have been mitigated by just having vision block
Mm,
on that area, okay, which could be done with banners
mm.
or as simple as banners or big signs that would block up the vision for a possible sniper.
I hear you. It means that sometimes the best solutions are the really simple ones. It doesn't
Yeah,
have to mean additional manpower. It just means allocating resources in a smart, strategic way.
the key there is when they did the advanced security advanced party.
Mm,
Normally, is a party that goes uh, scans the area first and
mm-mm,
makes a plan for the event which
mm,
should provide the protection.
mm,
But when you do that, your team should have a member who is familiar with special operations, okay? Meaning from someone who is experienced or has experience with special operations, meaning
mm,
uh, an attacker,
mm,
meaning let's talk about the gamekeeper, which is a
mm.
bodyguard, or the close protection specialist, uh, is a former assassin turned gamekeeper, former
Oh,
hunter
mm.
turned gamekeeper.
Right, right.
Meaning to say, he would understand if he as a hunter,
Mm,
how he would target the principal. He would understand what he would have needed to do, and
mm,
then when he flips his mind as the protector.
mm,
He would understand how he would mitigate those options that are open based on the area that the event would happen.
I see. So in as an example, that would be Carlos Hathcock, one of the best snipers in the Vietnam War era, was the one who was sent to go after the Vietnamese sniper because a sniper would know how another sniper thinks, and so they'd
Yeah, that's why it's
be
called the counter sniper.
yeah, yeah, awesome. So that means trust is one of the key words in the personal protection business because you have to absolutely have that trust on the person who's supposed to be watching over you. Otherwise, nothing would be possible, I guess.
Yes,
Mm-mm.
definitely, definitely.
The question I was thinking about was personal protection also carries with it some ethical rules, I suppose. Like, what you see and what you hear remains here. um, so, do you always have to like the one you're protecting, or sometimes is it better not to feel anything towards the one you're protecting?
Well, the ethical principles basically would first of all be confidentiality.
Oh,
Okay, so
Roger
as you
that.
mentioned, what you see, what you hear,
Yeah.
you leave it here, right?
Yeah.
So confidentiality definitely is a number one requirement for most those protection professionals.
Mm,
And you don't have to really like your principal, okay?
mm.
It's not necessary, but you have to be professional,
Right,
okay?
right. Yeah. Mm. So that means whatever his or her moral compass might look like, it's not it's not in our place to judge. In other words, we're
Yes,
just
but we
mm,
normally inform the principal also what our limits are, what we
ah,
will not be, you know, doing for them,
right.
okay, or not what we are not allowed to become goons for them,
Right. Yeah.
okay, to do what they instruct, Okay, because our job is
Mm.
to protect them, not to become wounds for them. Okay.
Agreed. So, I suppose there is a contract at the outset that clearly defines the rules of
Yes.
engagement, no?
Yes.
So that the principal is aware that this is the point after which you've crossed the line.
Yes.
Okay, roger that. So, um, there is a belief that usually former soldiers or those with special forces backgrounds tend to make very good personal protection operatives. Would this be true?
As I mentioned, it's basically the concept uh, of a hunter turned gamekeeper
Mm,
or a hunter turned protector. So
okay.
that's basically the initial concept. Now,
Mm,
proof of this is the ninja uh, during the Tokugawa era. Okay,
yes. Feudal
you
Japan.
know the ninja is considered by legend as an assassin
Right.
and spy,
Mm,
right? But they were also one of the key figures during the Tokugawa era. They were able to their intelligence skills was able to allow them to spot, collect, and make a network of informers,
mm,
or not only informers, but let's say um, leads,
mm,
okay, which will allow them to be able to uh, make advanced assessment
mm,
or advanced information on what might happen, what could
mm.
happen, and how they should prepare for it.
Wow. So that meant that they predate even the CIA
Of
in
course,
terms
yes,
of managing assets and managing human intelligence, um, boots on the ground, as it were. And my guess is that this created an incredible bond between the handler and the assets themselves because they had to trust each other to keep the secrets, to share information. Which leads me to this question, Toto. Um, what top three qualities should an aspiring personal protector or operative should ideally have?
Well, as I mentioned, the initial one would be confidentiality,
Yep.
okay, professionalism, and of course, uh, expert
Mm.
in the trade or in the profession.
Okay. Mm. Would you mean hand-to-hand combat, firearms, radio equipment, defensive driving,
Depending
and all
on
that?
the depending on the environment of the principal, he has
Mm.
to adapt. If it's a business corporation, then he becomes like a admin assistant for the principal. If it's in the boondocks,
Mm.
then he becomes like one of the rucksack carriers for the
Oh.
principal. If it's in
Mm.
the jungle, and then he becomes a guide
Oh, wow.
operating in the jungle.
So he's
If
like a chameleon, in other words.
yes,
Hmm. You know what that makes me think? A good personal protector or a personal protection operator would be a great business executive. If only because they're skilled at problem solving, decision making, adapting to quickly changing scenarios and environments. They work well under pressure. This sounds like qualifications for an executive somewhere.
yes, precisely.
Awesome, awesome. Uh, I understand that there is sometimes value in having protection that is visible and protection that is not visible. Um,
Yes, definitely.
so here's a question. Is there a place for, say, an operative who's really more of a geek, computer nerd, who might be into cyber security as part of the detail.
Definitely, especially in this digital age nowadays.
Mm.
Okay, there really is a need for a geeky or
Mm.
nerdy guy
Yeah,
who
right.
will actually play cyber. If that's his strength, then that's where he's used. Because part of the
Mm.
threat assessment, we'll have to assess the cyber or digital footprint of the principal and
Mm.
what's going on around him. Because most of the threats are passed now through the uh, digital realm.
True, true. Our personal data is more and more readily available to anybody,
Yes,
anywhere, anytime.
correct.
Um, so here's a question. Uh, Toto, if say there's somebody listening to us, because people have interviewed on the show are sometimes undersecretaries for government agencies or business owners. So I'm sure they'll be listening. If they want to engage your agency's services, how would they go about that?
Well, they can contact me. I can provide my email address and my
Roger that.
cell phone number.
Mm.
My website is not up yet. I will be
Okay.
having a website eventually.
Mm-mm.
But those two, you can reach me anytime.
Roger that. So, any any words of inspiration that you might want to share with somebody who I wouldn't say was necessarily an adrenaline person, but somebody who might really consider a career in personal protection. Um, Let me ask you this question. For you, having done it for so many years, has it been worth it?
Well, it has provided very excellent uh, experiences for me, both personal and the professional level,
Mm,
both locally and in the international scene.
mm.
And I've been involved in some hairy operations as well.
I believe you.
So some very edgy or very exciting, exciting
Mm,
chases, and which really didn't come to uh, the bad
mm.
ending, but ended good.
Oh, that's so good to hear. In other words, it's a choice. We can choose the amount of force that we apply in order to protect our principle. It doesn't always have to be like a sledgehammer for something that might be as tiny as a pin.
Yes.
Oh,
In fact, if I have some words to share with you, I'd
mm.
like to read out this particular phrase.
Please do.
Okay.
Please do.
True excellence is to plan secretly,
Mm.
to move surreptitiously, to
Wow.
foil
Yeah.
the enemy's intentions and balk his schemes, so as to win the day without shedding a drop of blood.
Mm.
This comes from Sun Tzu.
Oh, the art of war.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. No wonder it sounded so familiar as you were reading it because I've read it as well, many, many times. It's one of my favorite books in terms of warfare. Um, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, in case you don't know, Toto is a published author. So in the future, should you want to learn more, study more, look him up, buy a copy of his book, um, and pursue a career in personal protection. So, in behalf of my fellow hosts and the hospital staff and your family who are probably there, our thanks for giving so much of your time and best wishes on your swift recovery.
Thank you very much, Dino.
Okay, so
And thank you
la-
to your audience.
you're very welcome. It's always a pleasure to meet up with you. It's been too long, and but I'm glad that we finally reconnected.
Same
So,
here.
ladies and gentlemen, coming up for our episode 2 in season 18 is Cecil Fajardo Apostol, who will be talking about Beyond Vision, a journey of resilience and faith. So if you learned anything from this show, please do leave your comments in the comment section. Our guests always love to read them. So do I. And do click like, share, and subscribe. And always remember that learning is a never ending journey with limitless vistas. Good day.